Something strange just happened at Tesla. Tesla has placed a trigger around Warner Brothers Studios collecting data from cars driving in the area. Green is a well-known hacker among the Tesla community, and he often figures things out before they are actually released by looking at the code of the vehicles. And this development is causing so much tensions between the bears and the bulls. And we know that Tesla started extensive data collection in this area around Warner Brothers Studio about 4 days or so ago. And this is in addition to other areas like the Tesla Diner, various San Francisco and Bay Area pieces, and so on. But why is Tesla doing this exactly? It would be a bit strange to just randomly start collecting this data in these specific areas. Well, we know that the Robotaxi event will be held near the Warner Brothers studio, which is in Los Angeles in California. Tesla may have chosen the location due to its simulation of a suburban neighborhood because there are several houses and a simulation of a small town downtown area as well, which could be really useful for a Robotaxi event just to show everyone how it will eventually all work. And of course, the whole environment is going to be a little bit more controlled. And we know that FSD is definitely not safer than human driving yet, so it does make sense to do a demo in a more controlled environment. There's also a little bit sort of like a leak about the Robotaxi configuration. We know that it is going to have a seat which can rotate. And we know about this because Tesla wants Australian regulators to allow vehicles with seats that can fully recline, conducive with sleeping, or rotate away from simply looking forward. So if this Robotaxi is not going to have rotating seats, Tesla is definitely planning to make one in the future. Anyway, there is a lot of debate between the bears and the bulls about this data collection from Tesla. This is not geofencing, says Omar, and this is not mapping. This is a trigger telling vehicles to send up footage they collect within this box. Anyway, Omar definitely thinks it's not geofencing or mapping, just a data collection trigger. But because it is going to be an event displaying a Robotaxi, I'm not so sure if it's not really going to be mapping. There might be a little bit. And to me personally, that does not matter at all because we have FSD in our cars and we can see exactly how good it is. And Tesla cannot trick you in your vehicle when you take FSD for a ride, how good exactly it is. Now, if Tesla openly comes out and says, this is not mapping, we are just collecting extra data, okay, then I will believe that. Until then, I say Tesla is probably putting in extra effort to map that area. But it is probably mostly doing it so just from the data that it is collecting from this area, from vehicles that just go around this area, which is what Tesla is able to do with any roads in the USA. And the way Tesla is solving full self-driving, if we can make it work better in a smaller area, it generally will also work better in a bigger area. So whatever Tesla is doing here, it will actually end up improving FSD overall anywhere in the world, not just in this specific area, which is a bit different from other companies that are trying to solve FSD. Because for them to map an area, it's a lot more effort than just create a trigger. Oh, any car that we have in the fleet, if you just drive through it, we want every single car to send that data to us. Because, you know, these other companies, in the first place, they don't even have a large fleet like Tesla has. And even when they do have some vehicles, they need LiDAR. They basically need HD maps, and that's a whole different game. And I think Omar has a point here. FSD user satisfaction should be measured methodically to predict subscription uptake and churn rates. And this is a sentiment analysis on FSD v12.5.1.3. This is on hardware 4 vehicles. Key statistics, total results, analyze 100, positive results 64, negative results 24, and neutral results 12. And there's definitely a very good point here. Interestingly, negative posts have the same ratio as FSD v12.5.1.5. One possible explanation is that a better FSD might bring neutral people to the Bulls team, but bears will always be bears. He shared his methodology. He conducted a sentiment analysis on the top 100 posts from searching FSD v12.5.1.5 for this specific chart that you see here. So this is a different one from the one I showed you earlier. And then he used ChatGPT for the initial analysis and then manually reviewed all the results. So as you can see, the version that ends with a 5 has slightly worse feedback than the one that ends with a 3, but keep in mind that this was specifically for hardware 4. And on this newer version, you have cars on hardware 3. So this whole thing makes sense. Anyway, it's pretty clear that FSD on hardware 3 is a little bit worse than on hardware 4, basically. And here's someone who does do quite a bit of testing. He says that 12.5.1.3 is the best version of FSD I have ever used, starting from version 10.2 3 years ago. And the version that ends with a 5 on hardware 3 is a close second. But then if 12.5 is the best version, why would they stop rolling it out and leave so many on 12.3? Same question for 12.4. He replies it is better than 12.3 and 12.4 99% of the time, and yet still needs some fixes before going wide. Also remember that the steering wheel nag is gone, so a potential disaster for Tesla, for example, let's say an accident happening and then that creating a huge PR disaster, is much higher on a version like this without a steering wheel nag. So I can understand the hesitation from Tesla even if the software did get quite a bit better. Oh, look at this. Tesla has made some changes to their financing rates for the new Model 3 in the US. The rate for a 72-month term is now 2.99% from 1.99% before. The 1.99% rate is now only available for 36 to 60 months loans. 84-month term is 3.99%. Also, the non-promotional rate for the new Model 3 orders in the US is now 5.59% APR for 36 to 72 months, down from 5.99%, while 84 months is now 6.64% APR, previously 6.99%. So what we can take away from this is perhaps that demand is too high at 1.99% for 72 months. We need to talk a little bit more about the extra data that Tesla is collecting around the Warner Brothers studio. Previously, Tesla said that areas don't need to be mapped by its vehicles, but once they are mapped, decision-making and route pre-processing improve. This is likely all being done to provide the safest, simplest, and cleanest experience to the attendees of the event. There could also be a few more other reasons for doing so. Tesla could be gathering or confirming data to build composite maps, including everything from stop signs, intersections, and construction to bumps in the road to change suspension heights on the Model S, Model X, and Cybertruck for additional comfort. So just a heads up to everyone, when Tesla shows a ride within these more pre-mapped areas or potentially pre-mapped areas, to me personally, it won't be that impressive. It will be nice, but I will not be jumping up and down saying Tesla has just solved full self-driving. Definitely no. However, there's no doubt that FSD is preventing crashes every day. Last night around 9:30 p.m. in the downtown area, I was on FSD and the car came to a sudden stop. I got very confused, and then I noticed a pedestrian making a crossing right in front of my car. I did not see him at all. At this point, I'm pretty sure this actually happens pretty often. Things like that, or similar things like that. Not necessarily things that could have been deadly, but, you know, things that could have otherwise been very uncomfortable. And could anyone explain to me a potential reason for why this could be true or why this is actually really true? Tesla among car brands least likely to be involved in a fatal accident. Why? I wonder why. This is a study from vehicle history report firm Epic Vin. Now, Tesla actually wasn't number one, and it becomes extremely apparent why when you look at this list. Check it out. Car brand, that's in number 1 place. Ram, number 2, Land Rover. You know, brands that make huge, gigantic vehicles. So, of course, you will be less likely to be hurt in a vehicle that's much bigger and much heavier than anything else on the road, and yet the little Tesla vehicles still deliver pretty good results compared to other brands, for example like Ford, which does have a lot of big cars but also smaller cars. We have all braced ourselves for this, but a lot of these headlines are going to be misleading, so let's take a look if this one is actually true. Some of these could have some good facts inside of these articles, but some are going to be just hit pieces. So let's find out which one this is. A national survey found that 33% of people are less likely to buy a Tesla because of Elon Musk, who has now become far more involved with politics this year. And here you go already, immediately. So the survey was in the negative, but not as negative as the headline would suggest. 1 in 5, 19%, did say that Musk's actions had made them more inclined to choose a Tesla for their next vehicle, especially as more people make the switch to an electric car. Also, think about this. On which side are people more loud, and on which side people are less loud, less likely to admit that they are supporting a certain candidate, let's say a political candidate? So keeping that in mind, do you think there will be some people that are now more likely to buy a Tesla because of what Elon Musk has been doing, but will say, no, it actually has no impact on me, no difference here, move on. I want to enjoy my life and not be, chased after, criticized, ridiculed. I just want to live my life. But secretly, I will support him. I know a bunch of people like that. Not necessarily people that will buy a Tesla because of that, but people that are starting to like Elon Musk a lot more. But I also know people that before liked Elon Musk and now, So you have to see the whole picture here. But if you read this headline, you will think that something absolutely horrifically terrible is happening to Tesla and Elon Musk. Elon Musk is putting millions of Britons off from buying a Tesla EV amid support for this particular political candidate. Now, if you remember earlier, Bloomberg also did a survey, and there didn't seem to be much of an effect from Elon's political antics, but that was a while ago before the big endorsement, so things could be a little bit different now. A further 41% said they were not looking to sell. More than half of them said they would most likely refrain from purchasing another Tesla in the future. Also, check this out. In particular, the under 35 age group seem more likely to buy a Tesla electric vehicle because of his influence on the brand. And the research also found that Musk had particularly alienated women, with 36% saying they wouldn't consider a Tesla compared to 30% of the men. I like this one comment. I'm sure these people are the same people that are happily buying products from China, though, without any issues. But when it comes to Elon Musk supporting an American, well, here you go. This is definitely good news. This was a 1-hour video. Here's a little excerpt for you.
The level of engineering that goes on in this little section here, not only from a function standpoint, but from a packaging standpoint, like manufacturing as well. This system is not ahead of the rest of the competition by a mile. It's ahead by 10 miles. Let us dive into it, because it is, in my opinion, that every electric car is not really gauged by how big the battery is, whatever. It's the range for most folks, but how does it achieve the range that it does in various operating conditions is something had to do with their thermal management. And something else, this is something I noticed for the first time since the last one we looked at, which I believe was version 1 in a Model Y. They have a desiccant on the super manifold. That is pretty cool. Desiccant is basically a dryer for the HVAC refrigerant. They have it right here. It's just a very visible part. You just pull this cover, drain the refrigerant, of course, take one little clip, pull the desiccant out. Very simple. That is something new that I haven't seen in their previous systems. I believe this is maybe the version 2. Again, Tesla doesn't share a lot, which I don't blame them. This is marvel of engineering, folks.
And this got Tesla people really excited. The surface hasn't even been scratched on understanding exactly what was accomplished inside of the Cybertruck. I'm not just saying that as the admitted hyper fan I am. The iterative design from the competition will make attempts to embody what Tesla has done, but it will take them years to begin properly execute any of it. Slam dunk product, they're going to be everywhere. Interestingly, Tesla Cybertruck becomes the vehicle of choice for Amish solar provider. And I too am wondering, when exactly will we see the official Cybertruck crash test ratings from the IIHS and NHTSA? I want to see the exact scores. Also, check out this part. See this whole thing? I think the equipment that was used to try to damage the Cybertruck, see how much damage it took? I mean, the Cybertruck, of course, also took some damage. Look at how much it's gonna deform. Yep. Also, here are some artists making music in a Cybertruck. And this is why you want to have steer-by-wire if you can, and especially if you can have four-wheel steering, you definitely want to have that. This Cybertruck just dodged this accident. Now, from this angle, it doesn't seem like it was that close, but you're gonna see another angle and go, whoa, that was so close. So, if you didn't have steer-by-wire, or if you didn't have, did you see the rear wheel turn? If you didn't have that wheel turn, I'm not so sure that the Cybertruck would have dodged this accident. Check it out again. See how close it was? Wow. And when you look at it now here, you can see how big of a turn Cybertruck made quickly. And by the way, the other people in the other cars, they were all fine. And this is truly a bit mind-blowing. Was just chatting to someone that owns both a Cybertruck and a Porsche Boxster Spider, and they said they prefer Cybertruck steering over the one in his Porsche. And keep in mind, this vehicle is tiny. This one is huge. So that is a massive statement. Steer-by-wire is the feature indeed. Wait. It actually gets better when I look into the messages. I just want steer-by-wire on it, on the Porsche. I have a 981 Boxster Spider and always told people that's the best steering feel ever until the Cybertruck made the truck feel like a go-kart. He prefers steering on the Cybertruck. Yeah, I hate to say it, but I do. He goes as far as to say that now when he gets into his Spider, it feels loose. The same feeling as getting into an old truck with a big steering wheel. It's weird. I really think Porsche and others will adopt steer-by-wire. Once you're used to it, you don't want to go back. And here's someone else with a Mercedes SLK 350 with a 6-speed manual and AMG suspension. It's a cornering monster. The Cybertruck is on another level. I'm not so sure I would go that far to tell, these things about the Cybertruck, but clearly people are in love with the steering. And I personally, in the wild, when I go outside and just walk, I've been traveling a little bit, I am seeing quite a few businesses also use the Cybertruck to promote themselves, and I think it's working for them. And check this out, Ray is getting Tesla Vision Park Assist on his Cybertruck, so it is happening, and soon FSD should be deployed as well for Cybertrucks. Now, Ray says Park Assist for Cybertruck still needs to be improved for proximity accuracy as shown here. Visualization versus camera, I would still use front camera for parking guidance for now. Yeah, definitely. If you look here, you see the line is basically on the tip of the nose, but clearly there is still quite a bit of space. Although that's probably a very wide camera lens, so in reality, it's not as far as it seems, but still, clearly, there is a lot more space than how much is visualized here. James, though, has a few words to say about the Cybertruck. Drove by an F-150 Ford Lightning, and it really got me thinking. It's a good-looking truck with decent EV specs at a reasonable price, and it happens to look like the best-selling vehicle in North America for years. The fact that sales are poor speaks to the challenges EV makers have at changing consumer behavior in this segment. Tesla will need to do more to promote Cybertruck if they ever want to sell it in much higher volume. Over 200,000 per year, he thinks. Warren replied to James saying F-150 Lightning is okay, but a poor compromise. Cybertruck offers much more, especially for the money. He ignores manufacturing costs, and Ford can get costs down so they can scale and lower price, but Tesla certainly can. And there is a lot of demand in the future from the reservation or the wait list, which Tesla still has not gone through. So by the time Tesla finishes going through that wait list, Tesla will have scaled the Cybertruck production quite a bit more, lowering the costs, and that will be something that will allow Tesla to offer the Cybertruck at lower prices to the masses. Whereas Ford sort of had to go to the masses or to the people that did not put their name on the waitlist. They sort of had to go to the wide market much sooner. Also, software is a bit difficult for Ford. However, there are also people that are saying, for example, here, I'm a first day reservation for the Cybertruck. I decided to get the F-150. Software isn't as good. I've had 2 Teslas. For the money, I'm buying another Lightning. But that's because the Cybertruck, if you want to get it right now, you still have to get the Foundation series. So of course, yeah, the price is steep. And one reason why it's so steep is because every single celebrity wants to get one. How many celebrities have you seen with a Ford F-150 Lightning? I haven't seen a single one, but when it comes to the Cybertruck, there are so many that publications are writing complete articles just listing every single celebrity that has a Cybertruck. As you can see here, the list actually keeps on going, I think. To see the whole list, it's asking me to log in or pay. I'm not so sure. But Business Insider, no, I'm definitely not going to give you money or my email. If you're new here, Business Insider wrote a lot of hit pieces about Tesla and Elon Musk. Now, Omar says people love the Lightning. The issue is that Ford loses so much money on them, they don't want to make any. There's this article in German, which Alex basically sort of translated, and he made his own points as well. And it says a Model Y is 10 times as efficient during hot weather in a traffic jam compared to an ICE vehicle. The Model Y took part in the test with 60% battery capacity, and the stationary air conditioning was set to 20 degrees Celsius, 68 Fahrenheit. Temperatures of up to 45 degrees Celsius were measured on the dashboard, and the outside of the windscreen got even hotter than 60 degrees Celsius. Despite this intense heat, the air conditioning system kept the interior temperature constantly below 25 degrees, measured at head height and in the footwell. The Tesla's air conditioning constantly consumed around 1.5 kilowatts per hour. During the 8-hour heat test, power consumption totaled around 12 kilowatt hours. This means that a Model Y lost around 8 kilometers or 5 miles of range per hour. Then they say that it takes about 1.5 liters of petrol or diesel per hour to basically replicate the same thing in an internal combustion engine car. And this converts to about 10 to 15 kilowatt hours of energy. And with an EV, you only consume about 1.5. So this is about, or could be about 10 times as much. Someone is complaining about the Rivian audio system for a vehicle that's this expensive. If you're going to get a Rivian and you consider yourself an audiophile, get the premium audio upgrade. I didn't, and I'm already finding the entry setup weak in the high-end clarity. It's fine, but it's one of the worst I've experienced in a vehicle of over $50,000. Teslas, on the other hand, I think they definitely don't get enough credit for how good their sound systems are, even on the base models. And the Cybertruck has the best factory sound system of any car or truck that Sawyer has ever tried or heard. And finally, the Giga Shanghai wholesale number has come out to be really good for the first 2 months. As you can see here, it's the second highest ever. And this is driven by strong domestic sales in this record Q3 for China. This is also the highest monthly output since March. That's it for today's video. Make sure to like and subscribe if you haven't yet, and I will see you in the next video, probably on Wednesday. See you back then. By joining Patreon, you will have access to all of my exclusive videos on Patreon, as well as how much I am willing to pay for each Tesla share between 2024 and 2033. If you join the investor tier, you will also have access to my valuation model, where you will see all of my assumptions, including deliveries, the energy business, Tesla's future businesses like FSD, and of course much more. And then if you want to easily download that and put in your own numbers, then this third tier is for you. To all of my Patreon supporters, thank you so much. Make sure to like the video and subscribe if you haven't yet as well. It's really important to like the videos because that makes it less likely that the channel will be shadow banned later, like my other big channel got shadow banned before from about 50% of my regular viewers. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.